Indian Army jawans by Pakistan soldiers is threatening to upset the delicate relationship the two countries share. Both sides have exchanged strong words. India says that the killings are inhuman, ghastly and unacceptable. Pakistan says that it is ready for probe. The ceasefire, which both sides lauded till recently, has decisively been broken. The ceasefire was perhaps the biggest confidence-building measure between the two sides. And with that gone, we ask the big question, is it time for the peace process to be put on hold? Panel with me is Vivek Karju, former Secretary MEA. Thank you very much, Mr. Karju, for joining us in this program. Also with me is the Senior Fellow of Vivekananda International Foundation and also an expert on Pakistan and Afghanistan, Sushant Sareen. Thank you very much, Mr. Sareen, for joining us in this program. And with me is Defence Analyst Major General Afsar Karim. Thank you very much, Mr. Karim, for joining us in this program. And getting straight into the discussion now, my first question to you, Mr. Karju, what is your take on the latest ceasefire violation, mutilation and the way our Jawans were treated?
I think the ceasefire has largely held since 2003. And as you've rightly said in your introduction, it is an enormous confidence-building measure between the two countries. But shelling across the border occasionally.
It also goes against the rules of war. This is not a ceasefire violation we have seen post-2003 also, several other incidents, but the way this time the bodies when they came in beheaded, this goes completely against the rules of war.
You know, I think we need to be careful when we talk about the rules of war. Now, rules of war, if both sides adhere to it, then those rules apply. Otherwise, those rules don't apply. And it also depends on the kind of orientation of the armies. Now, unfortunately, in India, we still seem to harbor this belief that the Pakistan army continues to adhere to the old British Indian army traditions and what have you, the same way as our army does.
The Pakistani government earlier in a complete state of denial, and now they are also asking for third-party intervention. They have reiterated, whereas the Indian government has rejected this whole state of denial, first denying and then accepting, and also saying that it was first the Pakistani soldier who was killed and it was in retaliation. How do you see the response of the Pakistani government?
Look, I don't see it as surprising, because denial is something which the Pakistani, they denied that there was regular soldiers who in Afghan jihad against the Soviet Union. They have denied. So denial is something which comes naturally. They even deny that that they have a terrorist problem of their own. So denial is something which comes quite naturally. But the problem is that the credibility of the Pakistani state and the Pakistani establishment, because of these series of denials, which the whole world can see for what it is.
Political engagement. Indian government is trying to engage with Pakistani government. Last week we also saw the India-Pakistan cricket matches happening in our country, and several other measures which we have taken. This particular ceasefire violation was indeed the first and the most important confidence building measure. Let's not forget, politics in Pakistan, it is very, power center is very diffused in Pakistan, and that is also creating a lot of problem. We don't really know with whom to engage, because even if we are engaging with the Pakistani government, Pakistani army has good number of prejudices against.
You see, first thing is that only one agency decides the problems of Kashmir and security problems, that is the Pakistan army. So whatever has happened, you know who actually is responsible and who.
That Pakistan is desperate for this dialogue.
Right, but how would you rate India's response so far, apart from calling it unacceptable, barbaric, ghastly incident? Do you feel that the Manmohan Singh government should also review its policy towards Pakistan?
Well, I believe must continue.
Right, confrontation is not an answer.
No, you can have confrontation and dialogue at the same time. They are not mutually exclusive. So the dialogue process must continue. But with
the way that there is this feeling that beyond words, we should not show that the engagement with Pakistan, the important thing is we don't need to go weak, and we also know that Pakistan has recently stopped trade across LOC. It has also shut down the Pooch Rawalkot bus service. So indeed a very defensive response from Pakistan. It's now time for us to take a short break. Next, when we come back, even you can join us live on our program. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're watching Public Forum. In this edition, we are discussing after ceasefire violation, is India and Pakistan relation at another tipping point? Join us live on our program. Call us on our toll-free number 1-800-11-5313. Coming to you, Mr. Sareen. BJP is saying forget Sharm el-Sheikh, focus on Pak policy. Can the government do that? That we must review our Pakistani policy. Do we really have one? Do we really have a Pakistan policy?
You know, when politicians tell you that law must take its own course, it means that nothing is going to happen. Similarly, when they say that we must review our policy, it means that, you know, it's on somebody else's watch. We're not going to do anything.
टीवी का आवाज कम कर ले और फिर आप पूछें.
Political leaders हैं.
Okay, maybe we'll color again. To you, Mr. Karim, what is also being said is that PM was focusing on a Pakistan project, and there's also a lot of division of opinion, as even Mr. Sareen was mentioning about that, and Mr. Karju also said that we have options, but there is not much willingness to focus on these options. Mutilation and brutalization, it also goes against the rules of war. This is not a ceasefire violation. We have seen post 2003 also several other incidents, but the way this time the bodies when they came in beheaded, this goes completely against the rules of war.
You know, I think we need to be careful when we talk about the rules of war. Now, rules of war, if both sides adhere to it, then those rules apply. Otherwise, those rules don't apply. And it also depends on the kind of orientation of the armies. Now, unfortunately, in India, we still seem to harbor this belief that the Pakistan army have all the trappings of the old British Indian army. It might follow some of those traditions, but the mindset in the Pakistan army is increasingly that of a medieval Islamic army. And that is...
The Indian government has rejected this whole state of denial, first denying and then accepting, and also saying that it was first the Pakistani soldier who was killed and it was in retaliation. How do you see the response of the Pakistani government?
Look, I don't see it as surprising, because denial is something which the Pakistani, you know, they denied that there was regular soldiers who infiltrated into Jammu and Kashmir in 1947-48.
Live on our program, call us on our toll-free number 1-800-11-5313. Coming to you, Mr. Sareen. BJP is saying forget Sharm el-Sheikh, focus on Pak policy. Can the government do that?
No, you know, I don't think Sharm el-Sheikh has anything to do with it. Sharm el-Sheikh is a symptom of a larger malaise, which is what our Pakistan policy is all about. And the problem is that, you know, we seem to swing like a pendulum.
Let's see, I have a caller with me now. Yes, sir, please ask your question.
My name is Santosh Kumar, ma'am. Good evening to every panel members. I am an IFS aspirant. I want to ask a question to Mr. Karju, sir. In the context of US and Pakistan relations warming up and the US appeasement of Pakistan in Afghanistan, if the same actions continue, what are our different options from military to non-military terms, taking into consideration of Chinese presence in POK and Pakistan nuclear escalation? Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Karju, would like to respond?
I think you've raised very valid issues. Pakistan is a country with nuclear weapon states, but I don't think that we should be terribly worried about that in the present context of what's happening on the border.
If you are asked to.
Well, that is a classic US formulation. It doesn't really matter. No.
US is actually, as even the caller said, that
No.
US is improving ties with Pakistan.
I think what the US would like to do is to see that
Willingness to focus on these options. Another caller with me from Gujarat now. Yes, sir, please ask your question.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Hello, madam.
We can hear you, sir. Please ask your question.
हेलो मैडम. हाँ, हमारे इधर जो पॉलिटिकल लीडर्स है ना. हेलो.
आप अपने टीवी का आवाज कम कर लें और फिर आप पूछें.
पॉलिटिकल लीडर्स है.
Okay, maybe we'll come back to that caller again. My question to you, Mr. Karim, what is also being said is that PM was focusing on a Pakistan project, and there's also a lot of division of opinion, as even Mr. Sareen was mentioning about that, and Mr. Karju also said that we have options, but there is not much willingness to focus on these options.
Yes, very correct. We've got a lot of options. But the point is that we should now focus on various phases when these options will be used. As an army man, I'll say the first thing you should do is to force Pakistan to stabilize the LOC and the borders. If you are successful in that, the rest can follow easier.
Retaliation, or should we continue diplomatically? And as you were talking earlier about the political engagement.
You see, retaliation on the LOC continues. They can't.
Now from Kolkata, yes sir, please ask your question.
Good evening to all of you. Actually, after withdrawing the forces of United States of America and the countries which are under NATO, is the terrorist group in Afghanistan and Pakistan are again preparing to attack our country? And secondly, Pakistan has already punished our soldiers who are caught by the Pakistan authorities in the 1971 and we also see a film on 1971 what was happened with the prisoners of war in the Pakistan. But in our country we have returned 90,000 Pakistan armed forces to their country. So at this moment, how India will fight against Pakistan by diplomatically and by strategically in the International Court of Justice.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Pal. You're saying that how India should respond. We'll discuss this on the other side of this break. Stay with us.
But in our country, we have returned 90,000 Pakistan armed forces to their country. So at this moment, how India will fight against Pakistan by diplomatically and by strategically in the International Court of Justice.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Pal. You're saying that how India should respond. We'll discuss this on the other side of this break. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're watching Public Forum. In this edition, we are discussing the India-Pakistan LOC tension. Well, that Zardari is the first civilian government which will be completing its full tenure, and March 2013 is in fact just another 2 months to go, is slated for elections in Pakistan. So there's also a lot of domestic pressure, because seeing the timing of it, it says that most probably Pakistan People's Party is in fact facing a credibility crisis. It will not be coming back, and if any sort of emergency situation comes up, it gives the National Assembly, the National Assembly's lifespan will be increased by another 1 year. So this is the kind of so do you also feel that domestic pressures?
The domestic question, I feel, is related to the army's standing in the country and the problems which are continuing there. By creating troubles on the borders, they unite their people somewhat, not really, for a while.
Comments, do you feel that there are domestic issues also involved here?
No, of course there are domestic issues.
115313. Coming to you, Mr. Kareem, there's also a widespread belief that Pakistan wants to keep the conflict alive. Is that true?
Keep the borders alive. They can't afford a conflict, really. So,
well, that Zardari is the first civilian government which will be completing its full tenure, and March 2013 is in fact just another 2 months to go, is slated for elections in Pakistan. So there's also a lot of domestic pressure, because seeing the timing of it, it says that most probably Pakistan People's Party is in fact facing a credibility crisis. It will not be coming back, and if any sort of emergency situation comes up, it gives the National Assembly, the National Assembly's lifespan will be increased by another 1 year. So this is the kind of so do you also feel that domestic pressures?
The domestic question, I feel, is related to the army's standing in the country. And
You're watching Public Forum. In our final segment, we are discussing Pak's LOC violation and what needs to be done, what should be India's way forward. I now have a caller with me from Rajasthan. Yes, sir, please ask your question.
नमस्ते मैडम. हेलो.
हम सुन सकते हैं आपको, अपना सवाल पूछिए.
हाँ नमस्ते मैडम. हेलो.
Yes, sir, please ask your question.
हाँ जी, मैं ये कहना चाहता हूँ कि इंडिया के साथ पाकिस्तान ने जैसे 26/11 किया था, और इसी तरह से मैं सीकर जिले से हूँ। हमारे एक सैनिक थे यहाँ के विनोद नागा, उनका शरीर 6% करके भेजा था। तो जिसको तकलीफ होती है वही जानता है कि उसके परिवार से, उसके जिले पे क्या गुजरती है। मैं ये कहना चाहता हूँ कि इंडिया इतनी बार इनको सजा दिखा करके पाकिस्तान से क्या करना चाहता है। हमेशा हम अफरोज रहते हैं और उसके बाद में फिर सदा दिखाते हैं। तो डिप्लोमेटिक लेवल पे जब तक ये पुराने लोग हैं, जो हिंदुस्तान और पाकिस्तान का एक लैंड हुआ करता था और उनकी ये मानना था कि एक ही लैंड है, जब तक इन लोगों के दिमाग से ये नहीं जाएगा तब तक इंडिया कोई सॉफ्ट स्टेट बना रहेगा और ये कोई तगड़ा एक्शन नहीं करेगा।
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Karj, would like to respond?
देखिए, हिंदुस्तान और पाकिस्तान अब दो अलग मुल्क हैं। हमारी फौज की एक परंपरा है और उस परंपरा को हम किसी हालत में हमें छोड़ना नहीं चाहिए। इज्जत से हमारी फौज रहती है, इज्जत से हमारी फौज दूसरों का सामना करती है।
We must demarcate these red lines and make ourselves very clear.
Absolutely.
Our stand should be very clear.
Look, if I may just add, I can totally understand the American.
The economy is in a bad shape in Pakistan, and it is only surviving, as many say, on external aid and the kind of money it is getting from the US. And even if it is mandatory now for the US to leave Afghanistan by 2014, considering the kind of pressure it is facing in the United States on the economy. Unemployment is a huge problem, therefore, President Obama. I have another caller with me now from Bihar. Yes, sir, please ask your question.
Good morning, ma'am. Sorry, good evening, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Very good evening to panel. Sir, I want to know that this is a well-known fact that Pakistan military and their allies have a very big role in their policy making regarding the foreign policy making as far as the India is concerned. So why don't we put the pressure on military and Pakistani military and ISI to come on the table, a talk one-to-one with India, so that we have at least
Okay.
we have a
Okay.
conversation with them,
Okay.
so that we solve the problem.
Okay, thank you very much for your question. Mr. Karj, would you like to respond?
No, well, I think we have always sought that there should be interaction between the Pakistani army.
Your comments, Mr. Karim, do you think that it's also time for us to engage with the Pakistani army?
You may not be able to talk directly, but there are many other ways of talking and conveying things. And I think that should be done because they are the policy makers who liked it or not. So when you say something to...
I think you are right that anything that we tell the civilian leadership would go to the army.
It said that the ISI, the Pakistani army has released some sort of a doctrine where they consider their internal threats as, but they never talked about India, and that's when...
No. On that, if I may, yes, sorry, Sushant, if you permit me. Look, what are the Pakistanis saying? They are trying to sensitize their people that they have an internal threat in the sense that these terrorist groups which had been nurtured to be used against us, to be used in Afghanistan, some of them have turned against them. And they've turned against them because the Pakistanis adopted a different approach towards the Afghan Taliban and towards the American presence in Afghanistan. That was part of the problem.